English is definitely a complicated language, which they don't have exactly a set of rules in spelling like Vietnamese. Um, if they have, enough will be written as INUF. Nation will be NEYSHUN, and night will be NAI. And if it would happen, then our process in learning will be much more easier. But there's set of rules in spelling in English has been established in hundreds years ago, and there were just a little changes in this spelling way. Therefore, even we wanted to set a rules in spelling for English, but this language is still, but the way in spelling of English is still a very not very logical, not stable, and one of the most difficult language to learn in the world. Although English is one of the most complicated language to learn, but it still have its own weakness, which we can take advantage of when during our learning session, because if you get a full notice enough, most of English words is created by three factors. The first one is prefix. For example, like pre, inter, and co. And they can add with the second factors, which is the roots. For example, like the audi is which means listening, alto, which means the remote, or the vac in vacant, and the last part is suffix, which is stand behind the words. For example, like able, logi, or isn't. And you always can learn several new words by adding or incorporate them in with the suffix and prefix together. For example, you can use the prefix able to create the words audible, which means the ability of listening, or you can put the prefix in to create the words inaudible, which means you don't have the ability to listen. Well, you can see with this learning method, you can study a lot of new words with the word just the way of making use of the roots of words, or in other words, your productivity in learning can be improved, and you can shorten the time of learning. But once we have know properly and exactly the structures of all the words in English, the another questions will be asked in here is how to remember them in the most effective way. Some English teachers will usually ask the students to translate the words into their mother tongue, because they think that this is the most fastest ways to remember all the meanings of the words. This is not a incorrect method, but it's considered as it's not enough suitable for the students in learning new words in English, because you cannot create and build up the English thinking method like the native people. If every time and each time when you hear or listen to someone, and then you have to translate it into your mother tongue. For example, into your mother tongue words by words. And for example, the words "I have to go" will be translated in Vietnamese is "tôi có đi," but the exact meaning is "I have to go." This is one of the main reasons why there are a lot of people that got difficulties in learning English, because those people have seen and consider English as the foreign language. And one listen to me in or with all of these above, some of you will ask me a question that how can we remember and understand all the words without translating into our mother tongue. Imagine that you are father or mother of a 2-year-old child, and he or she is studying how and learning how to speak and talk, and you are eager to teach them how to say the words "nanny" or "grandpa." Then which way would you choose? You will explain to your child the meaning of the words "nannies" or "grandpa," or you will point to your mother or your father and say, "This is your nannies and this is your grandpa." I bet that it's probably the second way, because it's much easier for them to remember that word. Um, so like the the other children learn how to speak. When you approach and start to learn a new language, the most effective way is using the visualization. Visualization can help you to remember new words easier, and or you can make use of the other sense to remember all the information. And one of the tools that was used by Graham Fuller, an author of the book How to Learn a Foreign Language, is to learn a language without the dictionary, is the Google image. You can consider it as a joke, but it's not. This is a very useful tools with anyone that want to learn a new language. With each and every new words that you search in Google, there will be a several images and pictures that pop up in front of you, and your responsibility will be finding out the same, the similar and the different among those pictures, and guess the meaning of that words. Although this method need to spend more time than we using the dictionary, but they can create a lot of aha moment when you have found the meaning of that word. And this is the strong aspects of using Google image to learn English. When you have to combine the between the external information that you have in the external environment and with what have popped up into your mind, in order to create a one-way information. After you have found out a pictures of that meanings of the word, please use a note to draw a draft out of that pictures in one side of the notes, and the other side will be the meaning of the words that you need to remember. Those notes will be used later for your revision. And one of the most effective way when we combine between the taking notes and with the learning, when Benedict Carey, a author of the book How to Learn, is in here. After you have learned 10 to 20 new words, you should combine all of them in and put them in a jar or a box. The next step will be you just randomly take one of that notes out and look into that notes which contain one of the pictures of the English words, and start to remember about the words. This method turns out a very effective way. With all of the subjects that require your memorable and need to remember lots of information, because your brain working, because your brain needs to work a lot and much more when you have to remember a unstructured information or knowledge. And the coherence can be turned out even when you don't have a proper rules of learning. To summarizing, in order to learn new words in an effective way, you can use the structure BRIE plus root plus surface to expand and increase your vocabulary, using Google Image, taking notes, and play a random games in order to increase your memory. And if you think all of the information that I mentioned above is useful, please like, subscribe, and comment all of the difficulties that you have met during your English learning session, or the topic that you would like me to do in the next videos. And I will see you next Friday. This is me, and this is Draw Your Brain.